Across the South, nearly 1 million Americans say their families descend from Cherokee royalty, but the real Cherokee nation counts less than half those numbers, and Cherokee never crowned princesses. So where did these family legends come from, and why did they spread? Here's what the numbers reveal, and why so many Americans can't let this story go. The 2010 census counted 819,105 Americans who said they had Cherokee ancestry. That's more than twice the number of people actually enrolled in the 3 federally recognized Cherokee nations, just 330,716 in 2012. The difference isn't a rounding error. It's the size of a major city, nearly 500,000 people, all convinced their family line traces back to the Cherokee. And it's not a new phenomenon. For decades, the Cherokee have been the most claimed native ancestry in the United States, far outpacing the Navajo or any other tribe. Vine Deloria, one of the most influential Native American scholars of the last century, noticed the pattern. From one end of the country to the other, families insisted they had a Cherokee ancestor, usually a woman, often described as an Indian princess. The details rarely changed. A great-great-grandmother, sometimes with high cheekbones or long black hair, always Cherokee, always a princess. But there's a problem with that story. The Cherokee never had princesses. Their leaders were chiefs, chosen by the community, not born into power. Leadership worked more like an elected governor than a royal family. Even the daughters of chiefs held no special title or inherited privilege. The idea of a princess came from outsiders, European settlers who saw everything through the lens of their own traditions. The real Cherokee society was built on clans, matrilineal lines, and respected elders. Some women did achieve high status as beloved women, but these roles weren't hereditary and never translated to royalty. The word princess simply didn't fit. Yet the myth took hold, spreading from family to family, state to state, until it became part of the American story. The numbers show just how powerful that story became, a gap of hundreds of thousands, all built on a misunderstanding of what it meant to be Cherokee. By the early 1800s, Cherokee leaders saw intermarriage with European settlers as a tool for survival. Marrying traders and diplomats was not just about family, it was about building alliances and protecting Cherokee land. Chief John Ross, who led the Cherokee through their darkest years, was born in 1790 to a Scottish father and a Cherokee mother. 7/8 Scottish by blood, Ross still rose to principal chief, showing just how common these cross-cultural families had become. But the family stories that fill Southern genealogies today did not start in the era of John Ross. Historian Gregory Smithers points to the decades after the Trail of Tears, when the Cherokee had been forced west and their homeland lay empty. In the 1840s and 1850s, white Southerners began claiming Cherokee ancestry in numbers that had never been seen before. Suddenly, a distant Cherokee grandmother appeared in family lore, always just out of reach, just far enough back to escape documentation. The timing matters. Before removal, the Cherokee were seen as obstacles to white settlement. After removal, the same people became symbols of resistance and loss. The Cherokee story was rewritten, not as a tale of conflict, but as a romantic memory. Families who once pushed the Cherokee out now wanted to claim them as kin. There was another reason Cherokee ancestry became the story of choice. David Cornsilk, a Cherokee genealogist, says the tribe is one of the most documented peoples in the world, trailing only royalty and Mormons. From government rolls to tribal records, there is a paper trail for nearly every real Cherokee family. For those who could not find their ancestor in the records, the absence was explained away as a lost story, a hidden branch, or a secret union. The myth grew, fueled by the idea that Cherokee were both noble and assimilated, educated, with their own newspaper and constitution. Claiming Cherokee roots became a mark of respectability, a way to tie a family's history to the land and to a people who had become legends in the American imagination. Gregory Smithers doesn't mince words about the real function of these family legends, claiming a Cherokee ancestor, especially a royal one, allowed Southern families to say, in effect, "We've been here since the beginning. We didn't just arrive, we belong." That claim of deep roots wasn't just about pride, it was about legitimacy. In a region obsessed with who counted as truly native-born, a distant Cherokee grandmother offered a kind of ancestral passport. But there's a deeper, more complicated motive that surfaced again and again, especially in the years after the Civil War. Henry Louis Gates Jr. points to a hard truth. In the South, physical features that didn't fit the mold of white ancestry, darker skin, straight black hair, high cheekbones, could raise uncomfortable questions. Admitting African ancestry meant risking everything. Under the laws of the time, even a hint of black heritage could mean the loss of property, rights, and social standing. For many families, a story about a Cherokee ancestor wasn't just romantic. It was a shield. It explained away features that might otherwise draw suspicion, letting families remain in the safety of whiteness. Wayne Winkler, whose Melungeon ancestors faced these choices, describes the feeling with a kind of quiet regret. It's sometimes embarrassing to see the lengths your ancestors went to hide their African heritage, but look at the consequences. For those living under the threat of the one-drop rule, a Cherokee story could be the difference between being accepted or cast out. These weren't just fanciful tales, they were survival strategies, passed down through generations. The myth of the Cherokee princess, then, wasn't always about vanity or wishful thinking. Sometimes it was about protection, about rewriting a family's past to secure its future. That's why these stories persist, even when the records and the science say otherwise. DNA testing promised answers for families who had spent generations telling the same story, but for most, the results only deepened the mystery. Jack Goins grew up hearing that his ancestors were Cherokee. The family tree pointed to a great-grandmother, the story said she was Indian, and the census even listed the Goins family as Portuguese in 1880, a label often used in Appalachia to sidestep the harsh realities of race. When DNA kits became available around 2000, Goins sent off his sample, expecting to see Native American ancestry. The results stunned him. Not a trace of Cherokee DNA, but clear evidence of African roots. He could not believe it. He tested again and again. 3 tests, all telling the same story. The family legend had covered up something else entirely. Kim Tallbear, a Native Studies professor, has seen this pattern play out across the country. She warns that no DNA test can prove someone is Native American. The science does not work that way. Tribal citizenship is about documented descent, not genetic markers. But DNA can show what is missing. And for millions who believe the Cherokee myth, the absence of native DNA was impossible to ignore. The numbers tell an even starker truth. David Cornsilk, a Cherokee genealogist, has run the calculations. If every family story were true, if hundreds of thousands really did have a Cherokee ancestor, there would have been millions of Cherokee living in the 1800s, enough to fill cities, enough to resist removal. But the historical record is clear. Before the Trail of Tears, there were about 20,000 Cherokee. Even with generous assumptions about birth rates and intermarriage, the math does not work. There simply were not enough Cherokee to account for the flood of modern claims. DNA evidence, census records, and basic arithmetic all point in the same direction. The legend of the Cherokee princess cannot survive the facts. For many families, the truth is written in their genes, and in the numbers that never add up. In a country where identity shapes belonging, the stories we inherit reveal as much as the truths we uncover. Today, DNA tests rewrite old family legends, but the search for authenticity endures. What we claim and what we conceal still defines who we are. Share your perspective below.